Hi, beautiful people. So I just want to give a heads up. I'm in a very, very sarcastic mood today. And so if you feel like I'm acting different than usual, probably because of that, I'm in a kind of that kind of mood. Then also since it's not like a Bible-based Christian video, it's just different. The mood is different, you know what I mean? So it's just gonna be a little bit different. It's okay though, it's okay. This is a video I've wanted to do for a while. In fact, people start asking me, my first day on the job, hey, can you make a video about teaching and your tips with, working with kids? And at the time I was like, it's my first day, I don't feel qualified. And now that it's been, a year and a half, I feel like I have all the answers. And so I'm excited to do this video today with you. So here we go. I'm gonna start us off with a nice and easy question, which is, what do they call me? And that is Miss Eller to you, but everybody else, you call me Becca, okay? Number two, it's spelled like this. Number two, the second question is, do you naturally have that patience or did you have to learn it? I'd say to a degree, definitely I have natural patience that's from the Lord, but I definitely have learned over the years to ask for it from God and to know that I can't just do it on my own. And every day I ask Him to fill me up with the right amount of patience that I need and the right amount of energy and strength and everything else. And He's always followed through on that. So that's the biggest thing I've learned this year. We're already switching to that was so far away distance. Did you see how I just switched like that? Man, it's crazy. The third one, how do you get motivated? How do you get them motivated to learn? The biggest thing to get kids excited about learning, especially the boring subject, is you have to be excited about it. If you are just sitting there like, all right, get your reading books out. Here, we're gonna do another book today, and it's called Frog and Toad. Get your books out, page 187. If you're in a mood and, you act like it's so boring, then they're gonna think it's boring. But if you make it really exciting and fun for no reason, like if it's just like a boring thing, they'll think it's the coolest thing in the world. So that's my biggest tip, is just make the mundane things as fun as you can, because it is for them. But also, if you aren't enjoying it, then, it's gonna be a long day. If you are just having a bad time and not enjoying yourself, you've got to make it fun for them and fun for you too. And sometimes you do have to just fake it till you make it, and then you end up actually feeling like it is fun, and you walk away and you're like, yeah, I like that story. That was kind of funny, So that's my biggest thing. That's my biggest thing for you. What's your favorite time of the day with the kids? I have two times. I love when I read them a story after lunch on the carpet. We all sit there and I pick out a book to read, a little picture book. So I love that time with them because they just are like, they love stories, and when you read them out loud to them. So parents, read more books to your kids. The second favorite time is aerobics time, which is we do these worship dance videos, which my church makes, and then Gateway Kids makes videos like that. Their ministry makes these dance videos that are to worship songs, and they're so fun. And it's aerobics time, so it's getting them up and moving, and it's a really good brain break, and it's so fun to just see them worshiping Jesus during that time. They're all Christian worship songs. There's also Love Theory. I love that song. There's this little hip hop song that some church did. I love it. I have that dance memorized. I was playing that song to get myself pumped up for this video actually right before this. So fun fact. Do you ever get nervous speaking in front of people even though they're kids? LOL. Not really, because they're so young that they're not mean if you stutter or if you accidentally say the wrong thing. They're not just gonna be like, ha 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 ha. That's middle school kids who think that's funny. Or maybe 4th grade by the end of the year, but in 1st grade they don't. They're just kind of yeah, we get it, we get it. They're literally, their faces sometimes when I stumble on my words, they're just we feel that, Miss Eller. It's just funny. So no, I don't get nervous in front of the children. Although when I was student teaching, for sure, when you're just learning, yeah, I got nervous. But the biggest thing I get nervous to do is when I get evaluated or when I have to speak in front of the parents. In the beginning of the year, we talk with all the parents in one room, and it is a little bit nerve-wracking to do that, but that's a different thing because that's adults. Kids, no, not really anymore. Like I said, during student teaching, yes, but no more nervous sweating for me during the kids part of the day. So good. Where did you go to college, and how long did it take for you to find your teaching job? So I went to Olivet Nazarene University, which has an awesome education program. I loved my school, so shout out to Olivet. Their program is awesome, and then honestly, Olivet prepares you so well that it did not, I got my job in May, and I graduated in May, so it was really quick turnaround, which was awesome, but I started applying for jobs in March, so it was months in the making, right? Like me sending all the applications out and cover letters and resumes and all of that stuff. Like I was searching for jobs starting in March, but I ended up getting my first job in May. So it was a very relaxing summer because I had the job and I knew I was gonna, be able to have the rest of the summer to just chill. But all of that did a very good job of preparing me to be able to get that first job. So can you imagine working Sunday with older children as well? Nope. I do not. Nope. Middle school and high school. Tennis lessons is one thing when I work one-on-one with them or teaching the team. That's different. But in the school setting, no. How much more do they know and understand than we think? Kids understand a lot. And I'm not saying that they know all the swear words or know, all these bad things or whatever. They don't. And they are innocent in that, thank goodness, for the most part. Like the kids I teach are pretty innocent to that stuff. Like when they say like, he said the S word. I'll be like, what word? And they'll be like, stupid. Or like the D word is dang it, or dumb usually. So it's like they are innocent in that regard, which is great. Like I'm glad that they don't need to know what all is said in the world, right? They just don't need to know that in their little brains, in their little ears. But they understand God as a little child and they have that faith like a little child. And my kids, not to brag, but at our school, like they can totally tell you, if I sat them down right now, they would be able to tell you what omniscient, these are 6 and 7-year-olds. Omniscient means omnipresent, omnipotent, polytheist, atheist, deist. They could tell you what all of those mean like this fast. Like they are incredibly intelligent and they soak it all in. Like they are little sponges. So yes, they understand. And yes, they understand when you're talking about them. If you're talking about them right in front of them, they understand a lot. And that's why it's so cool. Like you can have such an impact on them if you know that and you actually, love them enough to push them to become better and to push them to become holier, which I'll talk about because the most asked question was like, how do you deal with behavior? And that's something I'll get into in just a bit, but like the biggest thing there is you're trying to help them because you love them so much to become holier, and they do understand that. They can understand being the light of the world and understand that this world is broken and there's hurt and there's sin. Like they get that, and that's why it's so important that you love them enough to share that with them at a young age and model what it looks like to follow Jesus, because they get it and they will do it if they see you doing it first. So they get more than you know. They understand more than you realize. The next one is, how do you create a positive and encouraging classroom? So this goes with, a lot of people are asking like my management strategies, how I manage my classroom. I'm all about positive reinforcement and encouragement, getting them to do the right thing because of like positive things. So I have this, and I know I've talked about it before, but I'll just say it again. I have a big jar about this big in my classroom that they fill up with little warm fuzzy balls. They're like this big. Then we have ones that are like this big for when another teacher gives us a compliment. But basically, throughout the day, if I catch them doing the right thing or making God's heart warm and fuzzy, they get to put in like 3 to 5 warm fuzzies. And so they'll go over to this other little jar and then they walk them over to the jar and put them in there. And so it's like a class effort thing that when they make God's heart warm and fuzzy, 1 or 2 students are being quiet while everyone else is being louder. One person standing in line super still, ready to go, and everybody else is chatting. I'll say whatever their name is, I'll be like, Bobby, put in 5 warm fuzzies to the jar. I love that you're standing so quietly. And everyone else is like, oh. Then they automatically get into it too. And I mean it every time I say it. Like if someone's sitting really well at their desk and they're ready to go for the next thing, I'll be like, 5 warm fuzzies. I love that you're ready to go. Whatever it is. But it's all about encouraging them to do the right thing. And it's like a group effort. What happens is naturally these little leaders rise up of like, hey, sit the right way, or hey, get in line, stop talking, whatever, like that comes out. And so then the whole group just like wants to do it because they're encouraging each other to, and they're working toward this goal to fill up the jar so that we can have a party. But in my classroom, because it's a Christian school, it's really great because it's all about God and making his heart warm and fuzzy. And even some parents have told me over the years that they've started doing the warm fuzzy jar at home. And that meant the world to me, knowing that a parent who's much older than me and has actual kids and, is married and whatnot, like all these things that sometimes as like I have my own insecurity issues, right? Like sometimes I think, oh, like they're parents. I'm just someone who's not even married with any kids yet. What do I know compared to them? I hear them saying that they take what I do in the classroom home, and that means a lot, because it's like, guess what? They are also just human, and guess what? We're all on the same playing field. They're not better just because they're married and have kids. So it's been very, very encouraging to me to hear that people have taken that strategy. So I'm all about that. Whenever you can get some kind of like token, like a sticker or the warm fuzzies or whatever it is, do that, rather than just always calling out the one kid who's not sitting, or the one kid who's always chatting. Like, it's so much better to do it in a positive way to get them to do the right thing, rather than constantly call that one kid out. But I'll get into that too, about how to deal with those kind of kids, okay? So here they are. Here's a couple of them. How do you handle the difficult kids? How do you discipline the kids when they're being really bad in a way that still reflects Christ? Just a lot were like that. So basically, I mean, I take different avenues depending on what the behavior is, right? I don't just give out one every single time, the same consequence every single day. It's like, the consequence depends on what the behavior was. So if one of my students was being disrespectful and not listening to their music teacher in music time when I'm not there, and I, hear about this, she tells me about that, then they will sit down during recess and write an apology note to that teacher for being disrespectful, and writing out a sincere apology. And then the next, either if they're still there that day, I'll have them go walk it down to them, or give it to them the next time they're with that teacher. If they lie, which is a common thing at this age, usually you can catch them in it, but if they lie, I have them, again, sit down at recess and they write, "Dear Mom and Dad, today I told a lie, and then they keep writing it out, and they have to take it home and give it to Mom and Dad to read it to them, and then they have to sign it and bring it back." So it's kind of like a accountability thing to tell your parents what you did that day that was wrong. So those are two things. But then also there are times where it's just like kids are messing around. Like, I'll never forget last year, there was a kid who would get up when I was turned around at the board and start, dancing around and like trying to make everybody laugh. And you know what? There was a warning, and then there was, what I usually do is I go up to them quietly and I tell them, "You're gonna have a consequence because you didn't listen to the first warning that I gave you." Or if it's really being obnoxious, I'll pull them into the hallway and I'll say the same thing. I'll be like, "You know what? I gave you a chance and you didn't do the right thing, and so now you're gonna have to have a consequence." And so sometimes when I haven't been able to come up with a consequence because it's in the middle of class, I'll just tell them, "You have a consequence," but because then I can think of it later, but if I do already have it in mind, then I'll just tell them, "You're gonna sit out the recess with your head down at your desk because you're being disrespectful and you're not listening." I'm in my mode when I was doing that, but that's exactly what I'll say. I'll say, you had a warning, you didn't listen, and now here's your consequence. And if it's not during the middle of class, like a lesson where I have, everybody else still in the classroom or whatever, I will have more of a heart-to-heart in the hallway, or I'll pull them later when the lesson's over, and I'll talk to them at my desk, and we have a heart-to-heart about sin and how they sinned and what the sin was and why that's not okay, and how did that make God feel when he made that decision. And then we ask God for forgiveness, and I'm like, "Do you want to pray about it?" And they're like, "You pray," yeah, but you do it. So then I'll pray over them, and I can't tell you how many times during that prayer they've just started just crying. Like, not even just during my speech, which there are times where kids tear up during my speech of like, "You made God's heart break when you did that," but it's a lot of times when I'm praying over them, like the Holy Spirit's just moving on them, like, "Yeah, you broke my heart, but I forgive you and I love you and we're gonna move on." And I try to like reinforce that too, like, "I love you, but I do not love what you do. I do not love when you sin like that, and we're gonna work on this and we're gonna get better at it." Like, I always try to give some kind of positive encouragement so they know I do still love them even in the discipline, and they understand that we've had hard talks about that. So all that to say, what the other question was, like, how do you do it in a Christ-like way? Don't feel like being stern is wrong or sinful. It's not. One of my friends who I work with, she's always like, she's so sweet, but she's like, "Man, they're so cute. It's hard to discipline them sometimes, right?" And I'm like, for me, not really. Like, that used to get me, but now it's just like, nope, it's black and white. Like, this is your behavior and this is your consequence. And like I said, every time the consequence is different. It depends on what the behavior is, but it's really, at this point, it's like, nope, sorry. Yeah, you are cute, and yeah, I don't like to see you cry, but I know that I can help you to become better. So yeah, sometimes I am pretty firm and stern. I rarely raise my voice. I pull them in the hallway and talk to them one-on-one, look them in the eye. Often if it's just one kid, or two kids, or whatever it is. But being stern with them is not mean, and it's not wrong. Jesus is definitely like, or just the Holy Spirit convicts you. And even there's a analogy in the Bible about like this like thing shepherds would use to move their sheep. It was a very pointy object that hurt really bad when it So it's like God uses stuff like that to hurt us. And sometimes, yeah, his discipline hurts, but that's okay. Like, he's helping us to become better. And that's the last thing I'll say on this question is, as a teacher and a parent, really, you have a very, very important job to help them become more like Jesus. And what's so important is, like, you discipline to help them become more like Jesus, in that they become more holy, and in that people can see the Lord. There's a verse I just love. Oh, I just love it. It's like, without holiness, no one can see the Lord. And so in you disciplining out of love, I'm gonna sneeze and ruin the moment. I'm gonna sneeze. Nope, just kidding, it's stuck. It'll come out soon. In the discipline, doing it in love, you're helping them to become more holy, and you're helping the world to see Jesus in them then. Without holiness, no one can see the Lord. And so you're even helping little children to be little disciples and to grow up and help people to see how God really is still in this world, and he's still working and still changing hearts and transforming people. So I hope that answers your question. I hope it was long enough. My answer was in depth enough, right? I want to do more. I'll just do two more. I work in an after school program. What do you do when they get too loud to quiet down? So I have a couple. And you can Google these, but I use two for the most part in my class. I say classity, class, and they know to say yesity, yes, and they know to get quiet. So that's one way. I also do I'm ready to rock, and they go we're ready to roll. Sorry, I'll do it again. Mess up. I'm ready to rock. We're ready to roll. But there's tons of other ones that you can Google, like mac and cheese, everybody freeze, or whatever. There's a lot that you can do, but you just train them to do that, and you tell them, when we do that, you get quiet. And if you don't get quiet, you get a consequence in my class. So, fun fact. But yeah, and the other thing, what was the other part of the question? Oh, yes, I was going to tell you this little trick I like to do. Like at church, when I teach the whole group of people, I go to a big church, and sometimes there's like 60 kids that I'm teaching when I do like the Sunday school lesson. My favorite trick to do is just go, do you hear that? And they'll be like, what? And like they all get really quiet. I'm like, shh, listen. Silence. That's my favorite sound. It's like my favorite thing. Because then they're just like, what? Oh, and then they're like, totally you have their attention from then on. So that's a big group trick that I like to do. Sometimes I do it with mine just for fun, but they usually listen pretty fast. So I'm very, very lucky. But they weren't like that in the beginning. We've had to go through a lot of training and becoming more like Jesus to get to where we are. So one more, last one, I told you, one more. Have you taught any children with physical disabilities? I have spina bifida. So thank you for sharing. Not in my classroom that I have right now. I've had no kids with physical disabilities, but cognitive disabilities, yes. And then when I just was doing placements throughout college, yes, I worked in self-contained special ed classrooms, because I got a special ed minor, and so I got to work in just the different types of, there's a lot of different ways you can mainstream now. It's so cool in America. Like, there are classes specifically, it's like kids only with special needs are in one class, or you can actually have them in general classrooms, which is really cool. So I got to see it in that setting. I got to see it in the self-contained setting, and all the different settings I got to see. So it's really cool. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for asking that. But yeah, right now, just cognitive disabilities in my class. But one day, you never know. I don't know. So yeah, that's all the questions. I'm sorry, I know this video is really long, and if you tuned into the whole thing, thank you so much. And if you are gonna be a teaching student, that's why you wanted to watch this, or you're about to get a new job or something, I don't know, but whatever it is, like, I'm excited for you, and know that you're gonna make it through student teaching, know that you'll get a job, know that even if you're subbing right now, God has a plan for you, and good things are coming for you, and also just that you're gonna make an impact on these kids' lives that you might not be able to see with your eyes, but one day you'll be able to know. God will show you how you change their lives in heaven, and that's the encouragement that I have for you. A lot of times you can see it, you can totally see it, but sometimes you can't. But just have the faith that God's doing something through all your praying for them and what you're teaching them, and reading and math and science and everything. Like, God is going to use that. Public or private school, God can use you. So there's my speech for you. Okay, thanks for watching. Another video coming soon, hopefully. But yeah, have a great day. I know that you're so loved and so beautiful.